Hey Harmonizers, welcome to our second practice with Alicia practicing for the Thoroughbred Transformation Expo in Florida. So she's going to be going down to do her freestyle, and we're also going to compete in ranch down there. So this is our second time practicing for our freestyle there. This time we're practicing indoors. It's dark outside and we're just prepping for some things in here. So we do need to consider that it's going to be an outdoor competition, but we're going to practice indoors here with the lights and be able to see what we're doing. So what I'm trying to put together is kind of a modified version of the routine that we did in Kentucky for the Thoroughbred makeover there. So it's going to be similar but different. Here I'm practicing with reins first, just kind of see how she's doing. I haven't had a whole lot of time to ride her with everything that's been going on with the house move, and there was a foot and mouth disease breakout at the daycare, so my kid couldn't go to daycare, but thank goodness she didn't get the virus, so that was good news. So we just haven't had a chance to practice much. This is only our second practice and will actually be our last practice before starting the journey down to Florida. So right now we're playing around with some different ideas with the tarp. We were kind of wrapping James up, who is my hubby, and trying to get some decent air with the tarp. We've discovered that she's pretty good with the tarp, but if she's feeling a little bit anxious, she can get a little bit worried about it. So we'll just have to kind of play that by ear a little bit. Here's a little bit of right lead circle. She's being a little bit lazy as we came into the small circles, but in fairness to her, I haven't been riding her a whole lot. So you can see she's like, ugh, small circle, that's really hard work. So she gives me a couple little tiny baby strides there, and I just praise her for getting that figured out there. And then we're kind of trying this whole wind him up in the middle piece and then turning around and going the other way and winding the other way. The neat thing about the Thoroughbred Transformation Expo in Florida is they don't have compulsory moves. It's just 5 minutes in the ring to do whatever you want. Whereas for the Thoroughbred Makeover in Kentucky, we had compulsory moves, which meant that I had to do a large trot circle, I had to do large canter circles, I had to show a change of lead. So I still want to show canter, I still want to show some trot, but it's nice that I don't have to do a big trot figure eight, because instead I can focus more on some tricks and some other cool things and kind of trying to show off a few different other types of maneuvers. It makes it a little bit easier for putting together a routine, but of course I still want to show a variety of moves because that will help us score a little better. So here we're practicing, still going around with the reins, going through some of the ideas that I was kind of playing with of what I wanted to do with her, doing some of our changes of leads, just kind of getting a feel for what she's able to do. Here asking for my little bit of my canter pirouettes that she can do, but she's just not super fit right now. So they were kind of messy and sloppy. So I'm like, okay, well, that we're going to have to put on the back burner for now because we need to get practicing that more if that's going to be fair to her. And I thought, oh, and we'll try going up on the pedestal, which she can do super easily from the ground. And then with me on her back, she just found it a little hard to balance there with the 4 feet on the pedestal. So remember, a freestyle, you're showing off your 5 best minutes of what you can do, not your 5 minutes of things you hope you can do it on the first try. So if I go up and I try something, then I'm like, all right, that's either going to work or it's not going to work. And we'll cut things that don't quite work and set them up the way that Alicia is able to do them well. And then that way we can show our best 5 minutes. So here now we are bridleless and we're doing our side passing of the noodles. I like these little noodle obstacles because I can side pass them and I can jump them. Here I'm also going to do a back through between two of them and just kind of showing a few different skills with them. Anytime I can reuse an obstacle multiple ways, it's going to make things a little bit better. And it's a bit of a messy back through there. Of course, my cat decides that it needs to go on the pedestal. That's Miko. Wanted to be part of the show. And so here, going off to do our canter work, cantering over our tarp, coming up to our jumps here, showcasing our little bit of jumping. And then she doesn't really jump those jumps super big. So then adding in a little vertical, which is something that we didn't do in Kentucky for the Thoroughbred makeover. So here, coming around to a little vertical, jumping that, and then coming around to do some more fancy tarp work. So I've got my hubby there who's going to be holding the center of the tarp, and then here playing around with the left lead circle, so trying to figure out, what's going to work better, left lead or right lead. She seems to do the left lead circle slightly better than the right circle. I was kind of playing around with the idea of maybe doing a left circle and a right circle. And whenever I come out to practice these things, I'm not playing the music. I'm just literally playing around with what moves are good for my horse, what's she able to do. Here she kind of struggles with that tighter right lead circle, which is probably me because I'm a little stiffer on my right hip. So maybe she thinks I'm asking for that left lead. So I have to really concentrate on my body position to get that working well. But remember, we want things that are going to look very smooth and effortless. So I will probably just aim to do a bigger right circle and just not plan to do the tight right circle if it's feeling like it's going to be an issue, because we want to make it look like a superstar routine. And that means knowing my horse and knowing what she's going to excel at on the first try, not what I can do with a little bit of work. So here playing around with, am I going to go forwards under the tarp, which no, that doesn't work as well, because if she puts her head up like that, she can kind of get stuck on the tarp a little bit. So a little easier to turn away from the tarp than into the tarp. But you got to practice all these things to get a feel for what's going to work and what's not going to work. So here's kind of a nice little clip of the wrap up. So it's kind of neat. My husband gets wrapped up like a little bit of a cocoon, spiraling in, makes that kind of fun. And then I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with after that. I think I'm going to try some bridleless driving and get my wagon out. So I'm going to have to kind of figure out how that goes with getting my little wagon. Rita's going to be there too, so maybe she'll be able to bring that out and we'll get that piece figured out. I thought this was kind of funny. We were kind of prepping for what we were going to do, and then all of a sudden the lights go off. So all of my lights are on a timer at our farm because we don't like it when people leave the lights on. So the timer went off, and my horse did actually really well. She just kind of stood there and kind of waited. And it's a little bit intimidating when it's pitch black like this and you don't know where anything is. But my husband went and turned on the lights, and then I'll show you how we finish off our routine or trying to put together something. And I didn't use, I haven't done it to music or anything at this point. And all I was doing was figuring out the first 3 minutes, because then I figured I would do 2 minutes at the end of attaching our wagon and then doing our bridleless driving at the end. So I was allowing 2 minutes for that at the end. Now, of course, she does do some pretty cool things that aren't in this routine. The lay down would be one that maybe I want to try to find a way to get that into the routine. But it's tricky adding in all of the different pieces. So here, this is the last little clip that I did. This was the last practice. And then once we get down to Florida, we'll have to get out into the schooling ring and try to figure it out and what we're going to end up doing. So we do our little sideways in each direction. We do a little back through. Then we do some canter work, which we're going to have to kind of polish that up a bit to make sure she knows which way we're headed to get those leads. Doing our little jumps, which she's really good at. Doing our halt transition to try to show our canter halts. She can do flying lead changes, but she's not super clean at them all the time. So I'm probably not going to bother trying to attempt a flying lead change. I'll just do canter halt transitions if I need to. Doing our little jump there, getting our tarp, realizing she does the left lead circle better than the right lead circle. So doing our left lead with the big kind of flying tarp move. The pivot lost us for a second there. I apologize. And then bringing it into the cocoon effect and wrapping around my husband, which the pivot gets really confused when the tarp starts flying. The pivot film's pretty good, but it gets really confused when we're flying a tarp. It kind of loses the horse a little bit. So my apologies there, guys. So you can see our little wrap-up effect. That was actually a really good one. And then I'll probably do some type of a dismount, a couple tricks, and then gonna do the cart, the wagon for the bridleless driving. So here's my little backflip. So we're trying to show a variety of skills. Now I didn't warn my husband as to what I was going to be doing, so he just kind of like comes over and is pretty close to me. And I'm kind of in my zone doing my things with my horse, and I thought he was going to go off walking straight. So it's kind of funny because my horse then does a kick out, and my husband was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm doing tricks." So we have to make sure we communicate clearly so that way he doesn't like get kicked as he's walking behind my horse or something like that. But that is going to be the first 3 minutes or so of our routine, and then we got to figure out the last 2 minutes with the driving. And it's all just kind of playing around and figuring out what Lissy does best and what's going to look good. So I hope you guys enjoyed the behind the scenes look at prepping for a freestyle and for the competition. Thanks for watching, guys.